This is now a Subaru Ascent. We just got back from Portland yesterday. RalliTEK had this in their shop all day. They worked insanely hard. And we are now running Ascent springs in the back, which the gross vehicle weight rating of a Subaru Ascent is 6,000 pounds. We are ginormous. Just right now, we have all of our fuel tanks loaded. We have both water cans completely full, 10 gallons total of water. Everything to the max. And come around, look at this.
Yeah, that's insane.
With our Ironman, I could not fit my foot in here, even when it wasn't this loaded down.
Well, even before this, it looked normal, but now it looks lifted.
Yeah. Dude, this is crazy. We'll get to ride quality in a little bit, but in the 24 hours following having that installed, we have taken it through everything we possibly could. Two of the toughest drives I've been on. Portland rush hour, Trader Joe's parking lot. Nice. Which side did we dent before? Are we on a new side?
I don't remember.
Oh, no, it's the same dent. We dented the same spot.
Oh, what a letdown.
Today we took it up into an ORV park that we have never been before. And it's gonna be driving this trail. I honestly don't even know if we can do it. It looks like a tiny trail. We're somewhere in Oregon at an ORV park. Never been here, haven't researched it. We just pulled in and we are going to give this a solid shakedown. For all the people asking why we picked the Crosstrek, we didn't pick it really. It just sort of picked us. We had some long distance road trips planned. Our current vehicle wasn't very reliable. It made sense financially for us to get a Crosstrek for a number of reasons. We didn't get one for overlanding. We did not say, let's pick out a vehicle and mod it for overlanding. That was not something on the table.
No, actually we were thinking like, what's the best commuting around our area?
Just normal commute vehicle that could also do a little bit of going into the mountains, and we're making do with what we got. And it actually massively worked out in our favor because the Crosstrek is such a unique vehicle to see out overlanding like this, that it's gained us a whole bunch of attention just because it's very not normal. Wow, this is aggressive. Crazy.
Dude, that was pretty insane.
By the way, we have never taken it off-roading with our hitch basket setup like this and fully weighted down. For our first suspension setup, we went with Ironman, and I've largely avoided doing an in-depth talk about that because I just don't want to be excessively negative towards anyone or anything, but I want to give you guys all the information. I know people that have had Ironman and it's been fine, and I know a lot more people that have had Ironman like us and it's not been fine. Ours did not mechanically fail. Granted, we weren't on it for a super long time. It just sagged so much, even though we were supposedly running the Spec C. And I say supposedly because I leave a small possibility that they did not send us a Spec C kit. One of our parts for the subframe drop in our Ironman kit was machined entirely wrong, and I had to go into Overland truck store and they swapped out. They had a kit. So I was able to swap out, get the correct part thanks to them. And since it started sagging so quickly when we loaded down our Crosstrek, that made me second guess whether we even had the Spec C springs to begin with. Probably did, 99% sure, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but I don't even understand the definition of overload because this to me is overload, and nothing with the title overload has remotely been able to handle our overload. Anyways, on the flip side of that whole conversation, when I said we're giving up on the Ironman springs, bunch of messages from people that had RalliTEK and said they loved it. I mean, completely different. On one side, I had everyone saying, yeah, I had issues with my Ironman. Yeah, we're sagging a lot right now. And then on the other side, I have a single person that was telling me, don't go with RalliTEK. It's complete opposite. So many messages. We love RalliTEK. So that's it. Not trying to be a hater or anything. That's my exact story. If you follow RalliTEK, you've seen on a weekly basis, they're swapping out Ironman kits for RalliTEK suspension. Even literally yesterday morning when I was on my way to drop this off at RalliTEK, I got a message. Somebody said, hey, we're on Ironman Spec C and it's sagging a lot. What do you have? Because it looks good under load. And yeah, we were on RalliTEK.
But now we're even more on RalliTEK.
And now we're on even more RalliTEK. I'm going to move and we're going to shoot with that in the background.
Good, good.
The reason I went with RalliTEK is mainly their mentality and just how they run their business. They do not give no for an answer. They are always going to come up with a solution. It's such a breath of fresh air as I'm doing stuff and people are like, you're going to void the warranty doing that and all this stuff like that. RalliTEK has not done that once, even though we are far beyond what a Crosstrek is designed for. They'll be like, all right, here's your pros and cons, and we can come up with a solution for you. They just have the best mentality all around, pushing the boundaries of our offerings, undertake endeavors that push the limits of our products, testing their capabilities and resilience. Everyone knows when you're doing this stuff, things are gonna break. It's part of it. And RalliTEK, in my opinion, has the best support for this sort of thing. I got to meet the owner at the rally, pretty tightly run. They're extremely quick on their feet. They can react insanely fast. That's part of our story here, is how quickly they took care of us. We were mid-road trip when we decided we were no longer comfortable carrying on with our Ironman suspension. So I reached out to RalliTEK. We ended up going with the Bilstein struts, 2-inch spacers on the front, 2.5-inch spacer on the rear, and their Outback overload springs on the back, the Crosstrek overload springs on the front. That gave us some of our lift back on the rear, but the biggest difference was that we were finally stable again. With the Ironman, we were very squishy. Going over to the RalliTEK, we felt like we had good control. We weren't bouncing. However, we started having a loud impact sound in the back. Check the strut bolts, things like that. Couldn't figure it out. Okay, so fast forward to this trip. The sound was getting bad enough that I wanted to have it checked out. They were amazing and got us a time on their calendar as quick as they could, just a couple days later. Yesterday, they put in so much work for us. They checked everything out, found out that their warehouse people had actually sent us the Crosstrek overload springs. So while this whole time we thought we had been on Outback overload springs, we were on the lower spring rate Crosstrek overload springs, which was a best case scenario thing because that meant it all made sense at that point. I bear the responsibility on that one because I sort of rushed the process. They were mid-car show and still got everything done and sent out to me. It's totally understandable. This is an extremely custom setup. This is not a setup they offer on the website. So doing the Crosstrek Adventure Kit with Outback overload springs, it's just not something you can get. In fact, especially these Ascent springs. You must earn the right to use Ascent springs on your Crosstrek by bottoming out their Crosstrek overload springs for a month straight. That unlocks the Obsidian spring camo. Once you have that, you can go back into RalliTEK and they will take you down to the experimental science department of the...
We successfully unlocked the next level.
Yes, we earned the right to these Ascent springs. Not only did they find that we were on their Crosstrek overload springs, but we were basically about sitting on the bump stop. So our noise made sense. That's why the ride probably felt so stiff, I guess you could say. It's interesting because we were basically sitting on the bottom of our struts nearly. I don't think either you or I care about ride quality, like when people are like, well, it's gonna be stiffer or something. I mean, this feels great now. Everything today, I thought it felt
feels so good.
I can't believe we're so stupid and have been bottoming out our strut for a month straight. I mean, once again, it's all on us.
How are you supposed to know?
There were ways we could have known.
Once again, we only have this car. We only do overlanding. We only do all of this stuff because we like making cool videos and pictures.
I didn't include that in the why we got a Crosstrek, but part of the reason we love this setup is it's so minimal. Once it's packed up, we're in this little adventure buggy that can do anything we've needed it to do.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It fades into the background of our adventure. We're not spending the day like, okay, where can we get a trailer? Where can we do whatever? And that segues into why I went with RalliTEK, which is, I think it is the most simple, durable setup. I didn't want to deal with coilovers. I'm not a car guy. I'm not going to be tuning things. I don't want to have to do anything to maintain it. RalliTEK setup, the Bilstein struts are, I think, the most set it and forget it durable setup you can get. They swapped us to the Outback overload springs, and that still was not enough. The main issue is how much weight we have leveraged out here. Just so much leverage this far back that he could basically pull the strut all the way down just from right here, versus if you're up here and you lose that leverage, it's pretty rock solid. So probably as we get into warmer weather and can strip back gear, we'll work on removing weight from the back. That said, RalliTEK's specialty is coming up with solutions. That's what they did. They kind of ran me through all the options and left the ball in my court. I was waffling back and forth whether I wanted to go to Ascent Springs or try to put a bunch of time into redistributing our weight, removing some stuff off the back. That's when RalliTEK said the one thing I needed to hear, which was they felt the most comfortable sending us down the road on Ascent Springs, and they got it done same day. And I literally could not be happier or more confident with that decision after the driving we have done today and how it's performed, how it sits. Everything about it is amazing.
Oh, this is the gnarly bit, yep. Whoa.
Nice.
Not a single hit. Oh, here's another one. Whoa.
Dude, we didn't even bottom out on that.
I know. Normally we would have.
Whoa.
Oh.
Oh, nice. Dude, that's just crazy.
I don't know how cautious I should be. I'm like testing it out. This is crazy.
Not a single bottom out.
Man.
And it felt good. Are there drawbacks? Potentially. The other Crosstrek they did Ascent Springs on, he is still running Bilstein struts with Ascent Springs, but the super high spring rate of the Ascent Springs did blow out his first set of Bilstein struts, which his had a couple years of abuse prior to getting the Ascent Springs put on them. Ours are nearly brand new struts, so we get to find out for science, guinea pig style, if the Ascent Springs cause these Bilstein struts to fail quicker. I think the spring rate on these Ascent Springs are 480, which the Crosstrek Overload are 265. So these are essentially double. It should have gotten twice as stiff, but since we're no longer on the bump stops like we were, it honestly feels a little bit better. And there's just, I have zero complaints. This is not too rough.
No, it just feels like you're driving a truck.
Yeah, we did
which
rough.
Is awesome.
You mean that in the lifted sense? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, and also, I don't know, I just feel cool.
Okay. All right, that's not very scientific data for me. All right, it's epic. I all day, first of all, when I drove away from RalliTEK, huge smile on my face. An hour through the Portland rush hour traffic, had two guys hanging out their window with cell phones yelling at my car. Looks epic. I can't park this thing and walk away without turning around and looking back at just how lifted we are. It's absurd.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Absurd.
That's kind of insane.
It's insane. Absurd that we're this heavily loaded and we still are lifted, and we could not get it to bottom out today. And it wasn't a rough ride at all.
No, not at all.
Not at all. It's literally incredible.
Man, this is crazy how nice this is.
This is like butter.
I'm like really expecting things to be a struggle.
It's just plowing through everything. Yeah. The cargo is totally fine. We have never gone to an ORV park loaded down like this.
Yeah.
Not bottomed out once. We have a little bit of a forward rake now, surprisingly, with the 2.5-inch spacers in back and the Ascent Springs. We're angled forward a little bit. Once we unload it, it'll be even more aggressive. But the NashFab roof rack actually sits kind of with a backwards tilt. So the tent has always been tilted back, and we've always had to park downhill to get it level. Now it's almost completely level as is. Everything is literally perfect. Definitely reach out to RalliTEK if you are doing any sort of a build. They have a lot of experience with this stuff, and they can add all of our rig's experience now that we took it into the shop. They would have nailed all of this from the get-go if we were able to get our Crosstrek to Portland for them to do it all.
But then we wouldn't have gotten to hang out with Milton, so.
That's true. It's true. Everything happens for a reason. I'm happy we ended up with the journey that we've had this far. If you can get your vehicle into RalliTEK, they could put it on corner scales. They could figure out exactly what your weight is on each strut. They would have nailed this from the get-go had we gotten it there. And that's exactly what we did this time around. Pulled it into the shop. They're like, oh yeah, that's what we're dealing with. Okay, let's try this.
We spent 5 nights on this ridge line so that we could get into RalliTEK, and it was worth it.
And it's an epic ridgeline to spend 5 nights on. June is going to be your last chance to get everything at the current pricing they've been at. They've been at that pricing for a long time now, and in July, they're going to be raising some of the prices on stuff. Their ability to do this all in a day for us, swap us out to the springs we needed, check everything out. If you think they're expensive, they're not for everything they offer. Like, businesses like that can operate the way they do because they charge what they're worth. There's no brand in this Subaru outdoor off-roading world I feel better about referring people to than RalliTEK, because they have taken such incredible care and set us up with this build. They didn't tell us there's anything we can't do. They just told us, yep, we can come up with a solution for you. That's what we do. That's what they did for us.
And it might be good to note too that they don't pay us to recommend them. We just recommend them because we think they're worth recommending.
Yeah, in this video, I just wanted to tell you guys about our experience. This isn't like a collaboration or sponsored video or anything like that.
They don't know we're doing this.
Yeah. This is just an information dump I would have liked to have when I started this build, now that we're one of the few that survived building a Crosstrek this far.
You're way too proud of the fact that you drive a Crosstrek at this point.
Because everyone chickens out and gets a Toyota before they get to this point. We have made it. We have made it this far. We're one of the few. We could talk about it. Anyway,
and we can't afford to get a Toyota, so
and
subscribe.
we can't afford to talk to them, shoot them an email if you've got a project going on. If you're up in the Seattle area, Milton helped us out a ton too. Between Milton and Carrie, they have a ton of experience with different builds and setups and things like that. So if you're up north, hit him up if you need a second set of eyes or opinions on your project. His intuition is spot on when it comes to this sort of stuff. Shout out Orbis Overlanding out east. They are an authorized dealer and they have experience with RalliTEK gear, so you can check them out if you're out east. June is going to be your last chance to get everything from RalliTEK at the current price. We have a discount code I'll put in the link down below. You can just use our link or the discount code, either of those will give you 5% off everything at RalliTEK. We'll be back to our normal adventuring. Follow the channel if you want to keep up to date on how our ride performs. We'll be doing all sorts of stuff. Probably taking it on the beach one more time, I'm thinking, 10 miles on the coastline, because that was the sketchiest drive in our Ironman, because it was high speed and there were a lot of ruts and rough stuff. And when we were hitting those, we were just tearing the fender walls out.
By high speed, he means like 25, maybe 30.
Okay, way to save yourself. Yes, that is the speed limit on the beach. We don't drive faster than that. Of course not.